Hi everyone. So the last couple videos I showed you how to go into a content folder in Blackboard and then how to create items, how to upload files, how to create an assignment, a discussion forum, and a test. And what we're going to talk about now is how to create a rubric. So I'll show you how to do a rubric, and then I will show you how to attach a rubric to an assignment. The first thing you want to do is over on the left, I know I'm scrolling up and down, sorry guys. Over on the left-hand side, I've opened this up already. It's under Course Tools. I showed you previously the page for tools, but there's more here that are not necessarily for students and are just for instructors. So what we're going to do here is click on Rubrics. What's nice about the rubric is you really can take a rubric that you have already and kind of copy and paste your rubric into the rubric on Blackboard, and then it becomes really easy to grade it. So I'm going to pull up a rubric from a class that I had before, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay, so here is my grading rubric for English 123 College Composition, and I show them, this is for a journal entry, what it would look like, sort of would look like this on Blackboard. So we have my categories: format and length, reading, accuracy and interpretation, and support. And then I have the points: exemplary, satisfactory, poor, unacceptable. My other rubric for papers looks a tiny bit different because I couldn't fit everything into a chart, basically. So here I have argument and support, information literacy, grammar and conventions, rhetorical awareness, organization and quality, and process. So those are my categories. So on here, back in Blackboard under rubric, I'm going to create a rubric. Go. And I'm going to name it. So let me say that this is, I don't want to call it the same thing that I call my real ones because it'll be saved in all of my rubrics. So I'm going to call it College Composition Practice Rubric. I don't need a description for myself, so I'm just going to click Submit. Kind of like a test, you're putting in the description first and then you're actually putting in the components. So once you get used to some of the features of Blackboard, I think it does become kind of easy. So here we go, and we're going to edit it. Okay, and once it pulls up, there's the description again, and underneath are the rows and columns. So here, the criteria that they've given me is formatting, organization, grammar, and it balances out to 100%. So let's say that I want to add a new row, and this one I'm going to edit, and I'm going to call this one let's go back to my other rubrics that I remember. I'm going to show you guys the one for the journal entries. So accuracy and interpretation. I'll just call it interpretation of text. And I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to click balance weights. And now all four of my things are 25%. Let's say that I don't care about formatting. I can click there to edit, and instead of formatting, I'm going to call this thesis and introduction, and I'm going to click save. And then let's say that I want another one for my conclusion, so I'm going to add a row, and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to call this one conclusion, and save. And then I'm going to add another row, and I'm going to edit that one, and I'm going to call that one MLA documentation and citation, and save. All right, now I'm going to balance my weights out again. Now, you'll notice that now I have 17% for thesis and introduction. Let's say that I just want 10% there, and let's say I want 20% for organization. 10 and 20 is 30. Let's say I want another 10% for grammar. That's 40. Interpretation of the text, let's say that that's 20%. And let's say that conclusion is 10%. So now add it up. Oh, and then MLA citation. Let's say that that's 10% as well. So now add it up. I've only got 80%. And I want one more category. So I'm going to add another row. And here, I'm just going to call this one argument and support. And I'm going to save that, and I'm going to set that one at 20%, and there is my 100%. So those are the categories by which you are using to evaluate your students' work. They have levels of achievement. I like to set them the opposite way. So I'm going to move proficient over, and then I'm going to have competent, and then I'm going to have novice. Submit. You can add a column, and you can call these whatever you want. If you have them set at certain levels for, you can call this, let's say this is what an A is, this is what a B is, what a C is, and so on. You can do that. I think that mine are set, or this is an older syllabus, so I think mine were set superior, strong, competent, developing, weak, and inadequate. I like to have a number of options, so I am going to call this one superior. Save. I'm going to leave that one as competent. This one I'm going to call developing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in my real rubric, I took out weak because I felt like that wasn't really a great way to describe what was going on there. It was not the best. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom out. And then I'm going to add a column, not a row, but a column. Something is happening here on my screen. There we go. I was just zoomed in a little bit too much there. So I'm going to save developing, and then I'm going to call this one either inadequate or not present. There we go. So those are my columns. Adding a row adds a category for evaluation criteria. Adding a column adds a level of their achievement, and you can have it go from high to low like I have, or you can reorder them and have them go from low to high, either way. Then I usually have here, let's say 100%. I have mine set a little bit differently, and I'll show you that in a moment. But for our purposes here, let's say this one is 75%. Let's say this one is 50%, and then let's just say that this one's 0. You could add another column and have 25% if you wanted. So those are the percentages, and now I'm going to put the description in. Typically what I do, what's the first category is introduction, which I don't have in here, but I'm just going to copy from this rubric for argument and support. And then I'm going to put it in my category down here for argument and support. Okay. And again, 100%, 75, 50, and 0. They should all, That's because those are my new columns. So you kind of would have to go through and change those for all of the columns so that they're the same. And that's basically, once you have that, I usually put the full, I'm going to expand this box so you can see. This paper contains a well-developed argument, blah, 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 blah. Then here, I usually put something like, this paper is competent in the areas of argument and support. The students can see, if you let them see the rubric, the full description here, right? So they don't need another full description here or here. The areas of argument and support are developing. That's basically it, right? I'm going to zoom back out. You can see the paper is not supported and or does not contain an argument, and typically for this one plagiarism may also be present. Okay, so I have the descriptors in there, and I would do the same for each category. I'm not going to do that right now because it would take forever. And my last video I noticed was longer than I intended, but I'm going to show you again, making sure that all of your percentages are set. So we want 100, 75, 50, and 0. Okay. And then you can click submit, and that is your rubric. The other option here, and this is another way to do it, is by points instead of by percent. So you can do points or a point range. I'm going to zoom in again so you can see that better. You can do points or a point range, or percent or a percent range. So if you do it by points, you'll notice that everything just cleared out. So I'd have to set the points, and I probably would do something like, 10, 7, 5, 0. For my purposes, I like points better, but it's whatever you like. If I think argument is set at something like 30 points, and then this would be, I don't know, whatever the percentage of that would be, let's say 20, let's say 10. If points make more sense to you, you can use points. If percentages make more sense to you, you can use percentages. You can also do the range, and then you would enter in whatever the range would be. So this is 100% to 90%, right? And you can kind of align that with your grading system. I find that usually if you have enough columns, you don't necessarily need the range. When you get into grading, which I will show you in a second, you just click on the rubric, click, and then you have your grade really quickly added up for you. If you do the percentage range or the points range, then you have to add those, put in whatever specific number of points you would like. So that's how that works. And then when you're done, percent range is, the percent range didn't work there. So I'm going to go back. I'm just going to click submit. And that's it. That's how you create your rubric. So now I have my rubric right here, college composition rubric, practice rubric, and I want to attach it to an assignment. So you can do this one of two ways. if you have an assignment created already, I'm going to go back into that distance learning content area. And then I'm going to go into my Unit 1 folder. Okay, and down to my assignment that I created. So I'm going to edit my assignment. And when that comes up, I'm going to go here to the, sorry. Again, I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see this a little bit better. And I'll shrink that up. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go all the way down, right underneath points possible. I'm going to add my rubric, and I'm going to click select. And then your rubric will be there for you. Now, you can have more than one in a class. There we go. You can have more than one in a class. For example, I sometimes have a rubric for assignments, regular papers. I have another one for journals. And then once you've got that clicked and selected, you click submit. The nice thing about rubrics, yeah, I know. The nice thing about rubrics is that this rubric has 30 points possible, so that's why it changed it there. So I can show them the rubric scores to my students, or I can keep it hidden. I like to show it to them because then they know why they got the grade they got, and they don't think it's just arbitrary. The nice thing about rubrics is that you can do a course copy from one course to another. You probably won't have to for this semester if you're watching this and you're switching over from in-person classes to distance learning. You probably won't have to, but if you want to just create one rubric for all of your classes, you can just course copy that rubric, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So here we're just going to click submit. And now my assignment looks exactly the same, except when students go in to do it, they will be able to see their rubric scores when they get their grade back, and I will be able to see the rubric when I go to grade them. So the second option would be to create an assignment and put the rubric in right as you're creating it. But it looks exactly the same. You put in the number of points that you want, and then you attach the rubric, just like I showed you. When you go to grade this, this is what it will look like. So this is my class, my 124 online class. I've hidden the student names so that you're not seeing what that looks like. But basically, and they have a higher safe assign report because it was a draft. Okay, so I paused for a second to go into one that I hadn't graded yet. This is what, and I've hidden the actual paper there on the left. Normally the paper would show up, but all my students put their names on their papers, as they should. So this is what the rubric looks like. You can see my categories here. Those were our rows: argument and support, interpretation and accuracy, research, grammar and conventions, and organization, etc. And then I have the ability to click. So I can click, let's say I think that this had a pretty strong argument, and strong interpretation. Maybe they had some problems with their research, so that was kind of developing. And then maybe they had perfect grammar. And let's say that they had a pretty good organization. So all of that would be in there, and you can just click those. If you have a range of points, then you put in the points that you want in the range. And the other option here is to show the descriptions. So you can see, as I mentioned, I put a longer description in for the first one, and then I say the writer is strong, the writer is competent, the writer is developing, etc. Now, right underneath the rubric is a space for feedback, and you can also close the rubric up, which I've just done. Close the rubric up, and then you can put comments in here as well. So you can type some comments in, and I kind of said here, you did a pretty good job supporting your argument. You had well-chosen quotations. The essay was fairly well organized, but you're missing citations. Then I told them how to do it and what I'd like for them to revise. Then you can save that as a draft in case you want to come back to it. The student put a note to me in there. Or you can click submit and you can let them see those comments and their rubric. And then after you're done with that, their grade will be there. The Save Assign report, I can't click into because students' names are in there, and the file's about to fully load again. But that's basically it. You can create a rubric. It does take a long time to set it up the first time, but after that, you can copy it to other classes. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to open up my menu file here. And I'm going to go into, I think it's under packages. Okay, so just again, if you're wondering how I got there, underneath all of our menu stuff, then you have the instructor tools. The grade center is there, which has things that need grading, and then also the full grade center with everybody's grades in it. And I'm going to go here to course copy. And if you have the same section of, or several sections of the same course, rather, that's kind of a mouthful. If you have several sections of the same course, or if you use the same rubric for, like, you know, maybe you have a couple different classes, but they all have an essay that's due, and so you want to use the same rubric. Rather than building it again, you click Packages and Utilities, and then Course Copy, and then you're going to select where you want this to go. So you browse and you find your class. So let's say I want it to go to College Composition. I don't, so I'm going to click out of that. You select the class from your list of classes, and you go down here to Rubric. There you go. And then you click Submit, and that's it. And then the rubric will be available for all of your other classes that you've chosen. And you can use it for essays, you can use it for discussion forums, you can use it for journal assignments or another type of assignment, whatever you are using. And that's basically it, guys. That's all about rubrics. What they look like from your end, what they look like on the student's end, how you use them for grading, and how to copy it to another course. I hope that this was helpful, and if you have any questions, you can always email me. Thanks. Have a great day.